On the surface, the Sensex is just a number. But beneath those numbers lies a history.
Stock market is the biggest loser of all.
And a heartbeat. April 1, 1979, the base year index value was 100. Back then, if you had told anyone that this so-called Satta Bazaar, this gambling den, would one day define India's economic destiny, they would have actually laughed at you. Because it all began very simply. Under the sprawling shade of a banyan tree near the town hall, a handful of brokers would gather shouting prices across a dusty courtyard. Deals were sealed not with digital signatures, but with a nod, a hand gesture, and immense amount of trust. From this small gathering emerged a narrow, ordinary lane that would one day become the symbol of Indian capitalism. The street took its name from the Marathi word for intermediary, Dalal. Dalal Street was born, quite literally, the street of brokers. At that time, if someone had said the Sensex would one day cross 85,000, they would have called you insane. The whole world said, India cannot grow. By the early 1980s, the world outside was moving faster than India could keep up. Globally, Wall Street was digitizing. In the United States, Microsoft went public in 1986, marking the dawn of the software age. India needed a voice. It needed a mirror to see its own financial reflection. In 1986, the Bombay Stock Exchange finally gave it one. They created the BSE Sensitive Index, popularly known as the Sensex, a basket of 30 companies that would come to represent the Indian economy. Only a handful of those original 30, these companies have successfully evolved to remain in the index decades later today. Others, once royalty, slowly faded as India opened up. July 25, 1990, buoyed by a good monsoon and strong corporate results, the Sensex closed above 1,000 points for the first time. It was a psychological breakthrough. In just over a decade, the index had grown tenfold from its base value of 100. Then, without warning, the world changed. On August 2, 1990, television screens across India flashed a headline that felt distant at first. Iraq invades Kuwait. India's fiscal deficits had become unsustainable. The government was living beyond its means. Early 91, in a desperate move to avoid defaulting on international loans, the government secretly pledged India's gold reserves. A shame for the country, the system stood barely breathing. And then came Harshad Shantilal Mehta. He drove the index to the moon using counterfeit liquidity. He made India dream only to wake it up in a nightmare. When the scam finally broke, trust collapsed. Families were wiped out. We tried to stand up, but the blows kept coming. 97, the Asian financial crisis. 99, the Kargil war. 2000, the dot-com bubble burst. Technology, or new hope, turned toxic. 2001, Ketan Parekh did it again. Another scam, another breach of trust. And just as we were stabilizing, came September 11, 2001.
That we've just had another explosion.
Terror struck the heart of global capitalism. Markets crashed in sympathy with a world gripped by fear. In India, the BJP was ready. Riding high on the India shining story, the confidence was absolute, the victory felt inevitable. But it didn't last.
ये फेल हो गया है हर फ्रंट पर भाजपा.
Governments fell overnight. The markets hit the lower circuit twice in a single day. People thought the India story was over. But the biggest test was yet to come. Came 2008, the global financial crisis. Lehman Brothers collapsed. The world burned. The Sensex didn't just fall, it melted. We lost nearly 60% of our value in months. Having survived 2008, we woke up to 2009 only to face the enemy within. Satyam, India's Enron, shook our corporate conscience. In 2016 came demonetization. Overnight, 86% of India's currency vanished.
10,000 rupees daily निकालने गया तो नहीं होगा. अभी 3 weeks में शायद ही है.
The system went into shock. And then came 2020, the mother of it all.
आज रात 12 बजे से पूरे देश में संपूर्ण लॉकडाउन होने जा रहा है.
A microscopic virus brought the entire civilization to a standstill. COVID. In March 2020, looking at the screens felt like staring into an abyss. It wasn't just a financial loss, it was about life and death. And it never stopped. In 2023, the Ukraine war spiked oil prices and inflation. And now in 2025, AI bubble fears, the return of Trump, trade tariffs. Every era brought a new reason to panic, a new reason to sell. So why did we collapse? Because every time we fell, we built a better ladder. It began in 1991.
India's development is of tremendous significance for the future of the entire developing.
Dr. Manmohan Singh broke the chains of license Raj and opened India to the world. But opening up wasn't enough. We needed law and order. From the ashes of the scams, SEBI emerged as a powerful watchdog. We moved from the chaos of physical paper to the speed of DMAT. We abolished Badla. We introduced circuit breakers to stop the panic. We tightened KYC norms and cleaned up the mutual fund industry. We didn't just fix the market, we civilized it. Leaders and policymakers from the dream budget of the 90s to the GST and Insolvency Code IBC of today created a safety net. They ensured that when companies failed, the system survived. And on this new foundation, the real heroes rose. The companies, when the world doubted our tech, Infosys and TCS became the coding engine of the planet. When the global banks crumbled, HDFC Bank and Kotak Mahindra showed the world how to lend with integrity. We saw Reliance transform from textiles to a digital giant. We saw Sun Pharma and Dr. Reddy's become the pharmacy of the world. Titan, Bajaj Finance, Asian Paints, L&T. These weren't just stocks. They were wealth creation machines that survived wars, recessions and pandemics. They delivered the earnings that justified the optimism. They proved that India wasn't just a story of hope. It was a story of delivery. The Sensex rose from 100 to 85,000 not because it was lucky, but because it was resilient. This book, Against All Odds, is the story of that resilience. It is the story of the reforms, the regulators, the rebels who built this market. The truth is, you cannot understand India without understanding the Sensex. It is not a number, it is a pulse, a collective optimism of 1.4 billion dreams. This book is not predictive, it is historical. Not sensational, but truthful. Not motivational, but transformational. As we march towards Sensex 1 lakh and beyond, if there is one message this book wishes to leave behind, it is this India, which will always stumble, but it will never fall. Every collapse is temporary. Every downfall plants seeds for the next rise. As India strides towards a $5 trillion economy and beyond in this Amrit Kaal, history teaches us one undeniable lesson. Betting against India has always been a losing game. I welcome you all to the story of Sensex, and I welcome you to witness this amazing journey against all odds. Thank you so much.